live on YouTube. So what we're looking at today, just set the camera up better there. What we're looking at today would be the popular waxes, ones for specific cars, ones for high gloss, ones for summer, daily drivers, that type of thing. So it's just a quick video on maybe some of our newer waxes that we've released and waxes you might be interested in. If you're in the market for a new wax, then hopefully you'll see something here. We have roughly, I think from last count, about 50 to 60 different car waxes that we offer. And the first thing we'll start with is we'll explain why are there 50 to 60 car waxes? Why have you made that amount? So, sorry guys, I'm struggling with a bit of a cold at the morning. Good morning, John. How are you doing? Person that's not too unfamiliar with the range joining the YouTube live just now. So, let's start off with some of our new waxes and we'll get into the specifics of Carnauba content and things like that, get into some meaty stuff. So, I've made a wax called Westminster. I'll just go and grab it and show you what it's all about. Morning David, how are you? So Westminster, there we go, just push them out of the way. Westminster is a 70% T1 Carnauba wax. This is the 200ml version. The interesting thing with this wax is it's not absolutely rock solid. So typically T1, when it comes into our factory, it comes in, how would you say this, in chip form. So it comes in small chips, and even the chips, when they're only millimeters thick, they're actually quite difficult to snap, but they're very, very brittle as well. So there's a couple of things straight away that we have to do. We have to make the wax soft enough to go into the jar, and then we have to also make sure that it's not so brittle that it doesn't start to craze on or craze over the paintwork. So what we do is we add in some oils. Now the oils that I use within Westminster, they are roughly about 4 times the price of something that would go into, let's choose this one, Prototype. So Prototype is our wax that's available right at the very beginning of the range. It's about £30 for a 200ml tub. It's made in-house. It's still made to the same exact standards as the Westminster, the Lily, the Jordan. It's the same production line. We don't make thousands of wax at the time. We do have the capacity to do that. The reason that we don't is quality control. So we want to make sure that these waxes, we don't use machines. These are all handmade because we want a hand finish to them. Hand finish is typically, certainly within the craft trade or the artisan trade, is always a far better finish. Just look at the great example, cars. Look at the quality of the car, the paint finish now versus it's one of the robots attacking me, obviously. Look at the quality of the paint finish now versus even 12 to 15 years ago. Obviously paint's changed as well, but not that much. The thing that's changed is the application method. Now, I was having an interesting conversation with a chap the other day who had recently had his car refurbished by Aston Martin Heritage. And one of the things that cropped up was the layers of clear coat applied to the paint. Now, Aston Martin, I don't know if they still do it, but certainly a number of years ago when I was doing some work for another customer, he'd said they put about 14 to 16 layers of clear coat onto the paint. Now, in my mind, Aston Martin probably has the best paint that I've ever seen with my bare eye. I've never seen a Bugatti. Well, tell a lie, I have seen a Bugatti in real life. It wasn't very well cared for. It was parked out on Rodeo Drive in Los Angeles, and it was full of swirls. So it's not a great way to judge. But we've seen a fair few Astons, and the quality of paintwork is always very good. Good morning, Shax. How you doing? So this goes back to the hand finish. Typically, Rolls-Royce is another great example, Bentley, these are all hand-finished cars, and the quality of the stitching and things like that is very, very high. And that's why with the waxes, they're all handmade. We don't use machinery, there's no essentially rolling production line, so to speak. It's all done by hand. The other thing that we always feel is the more that we are interacting with our products as we make them, the more likely we are to catch anything or to be able to fix anything and make it to the best quality it can be. But are obviously dealing with natural products. They are not as finesse as, for instance, you might find that the prototype wax is actually a nicer pour than some of our very high-end waxes, and that's due to the different types of oils that we use. And that's a sheer giveaway. I can demonstrate this possibly with one of the waxes. Let's choose something here. Great example. So you can see on the Serpine, for instance, there are different natural colours within the wax blend. It's not a uniform colour, and that's just due to the different oils and ingredients that we're using in there. I always shy away from colouring the luxury waxes simply because the colourants are just an aesthetic. They actually detract from the quality of the wax. The colour, for instance, could be £1. Let's say that the colour's £1, but the cheapest ingredient I've got in here is maybe £25. So a 25th of the cost of this colour is going in, and the colour also has its own chemicals. I don't necessarily want those chemicals to be intermingling with the natural stuff, because these are the best waxes. So the luxury range, they look the best, they have the best ingredients, they're obviously limited editions as well, and that's not so much it's a byproduct of the actual wax itself, but the ingredients are the best. So if we are to use a fragrance, for instance, which we don't do with any of the luxury waxes, they're all fragranced naturally, so the fragrance comes from the ingredients. And some of them smell really, well, they all smell really nice, but there are ones that stand out and you think, well, I didn't realise that the oil smelled like that, or blah blah blah. And it's not this, musty market type fragrance. It's a high quality, pleasant fragrance that you'll get from them. So Serpine's a great example. Again, let's look at Cardinal. So Cardinal is a high clarity wax, so it's mainly for metallic paint, which is what the label says. But you can see here, these are really light oils, weight wise and also colour wise as well. So the blend, you would expect the blend on this to be absolutely perfect. We can have a look at Caffe's always an interesting one because it's quite a heavy oil that we use on that, and it's, you can see there it's slightly thicker in nature. It was the first ever wax that was made from coffee. Michelin King, they've had lots of firsts. We were the first ever company to put gold flake in our wax. Obviously the glitter wax, which took the industry by storm. We were the first ever, the other gold wax that we make, the Gold Rush Rally wax, we were the first ever company to do that. We're the first ever company to use solely luxury ingredients. So if you were to read the MSDS sheet for one of these luxury waxes, well, by law we are not actually required to make an MSDS sheet for the luxury waxes because they come under cosmetic products, because there are no petroleum distillants in the one of the things, funnily enough, I think it was John that I was speaking to about the glitter wax. Really what we need to do is build a separate room for it. Now that it's an open plan factory, because we've got the packing area here and whatnot as well, with the glitter wax, just the nickname I guess that we give it, The minute you open the tub, because it's all positively charged, it just goes poof, and the stuff goes everywhere. So the concern is always cross-contamination, and where we used to make the wax, we had a couple of different rooms that we could make use of. So yeah, there is the possibility. It's just, again, a timing thing. Coming into summer now, it's absolutely flat out, so it's probably something that we'll look at towards the end of the year, or if it ever does get quiet again, then we will. And it was the last time that we made the batch, that was supposed to be the last batch. They do come up now and again on, I've never seen them on eBay, but they do come up on the detailing forums. And I know that one of the guys, he's got about 5 or 6 tubs, all the different colours. So we used to do a gold, silver, blue, red, pearl. I think there was another colour as well, maybe yellow. I can't remember now. But we had a few different colours. So yeah, possibly in the future it's something we'll do. It's just when you make it, you need a machine that's only going to get used for that colour of glitter, and you literally have to put a suit on because the stuff just goes absolutely everywhere because it's static. So yeah, maybe in the future we'll do it. The other option we had was building something outside, so that it never actually comes in. It's fine once it's in the wax, it's absolutely stable, doesn't do anything, doesn't go anywhere. It's just actually getting it from here into here without it, going everywhere. Which is why it's, interestingly enough, it is a semi-permanent coating, the glitz. So the only way to remove it is with a clay bar or to machine polish it off. And that's an important one because it shows you just how strong the wax that we make is. That we had customers that would apply it and then do their normal decon and it wouldn't come off. So luckily we did have on the website, it was a semi-permanent coating. But yeah, it was a great wax. I'll be honest, it's a bit of a pig to get off once it's on, but it was really only for things like, it was made for the Gold Rush Rally again, and the guys mainly used it on the wing mirrors, the side skirts, maybe spoilers, that type of thing. So it was never designed, although there's a guy on YouTube, one of the influencer type guys, and he put the detailer at the time, put it over the whole car, and it looked immense, but it must have taken them ages to get it off. So yeah, so a couple other waxes that are popular, as I've said, we've got the Crema wax. The other one that's very popular at the moment is Balmoral. This is mainly going overseas, interestingly enough. I think just with the Scottish connotation, kind of similar to the Butte one, which is blended from whiskey, of all things. Again, that mainly goes overseas. Again, probably just more of a collector's item, but memorabilia. We do offer the 50mm, so a lot of guys that come in and buy the 200 buy the 50mm. So they'll use this as the daily pot, and then that will go into storage or onto the shelves or whatever, just to keep and look at. Another one, but more so in the 50mm at the moment, is Le Monde. So Le Monde, think of this, again, it's a buttery soft carnauba wax, but think of it as more of a long-lasting wax than Crema. So Crema will give you about 3 months or so, this will give you about 4 to 5 months out of it. And there, we might make the waxes in Scotland. The car that I use is sitting out in the car park just now. So it's tested in our climate. So the excuse me, the estimate for longevity is always quite close because the as many of you know that live in Scotland, our weather changes all the time. So they're pretty good estimates. It's not like we live in this a dry climate or anything like that. Another one actually just I've caught out the side of my eye is honey. So honey, as the name might suggest, smells of honey, but the other thing that's very different about this is it's predominantly beeswax that I've used in this wax. This is, I said this in the last video that we just did, this is probably my favourite wax at this price point. It doesn't really matter. It looks, as most sealants, ceramics, waxes, they all look better on solid paint. But this one here also looks really, really good on metallics as well. I've got a black metallic paint, but other darker colours. Beeswax is really for your darker paint, just because of the gloss levels. But also, oddly enough, one of the colours it does really stand out with is white, so it looks really good on white as well. White is a bit of an oddball, just simply because it's quite difficult to get those gloss levels from white that you obtain from the reds, the blues, the blacks. The other one, we've got a customer that has an orange Transit, and his arms must have been like steel after it, because he coated the whole Transit with honey, and the Transit looked absolutely, it's one of these special edition RS Transits, and the Transit looks incredible. I've never seen, you know, a vehicle that size look that shiny. So honey, again, we do it in the 50 mils as well, so you get the smaller pot, and it's only about £15. So it's a great wax. So we'll go over to the other side, because we have a fair collection of what we call mark waxes. So these are, no, just balance it there, that'll do. These are waxes that I've made for, they've either come in as requests, or we've made them for car garages or car manufacturers, and these are all different waxes for brands. So the likes of, well, we'll start off with the one right at the very beginning, which is Stuttgart. I think we've got one here. It's just got pre-production lid. So this is the Stuttgart here. This originally started off as the wax that Beverly Hills Porsche used, and it's essentially grown to every customer that we have that owns a Porsche, they pretty much have Stuttgart within their collection. The same as I said yesterday, the other day, rather, we had a customer that phoned about an Aston. 99% of them will always go down the Bond route. I think because it's quite a cool story. It just kind of came out the blue. We have a detailer that looks after a customer that collects cars, and one of the cars within his collection was an Aston Martin that was used in the James Bond movie. And whoever owns the rights to James Bond at the moment approached the customer and said, we'd like to use your car at the premiere for the movie after they purchased it. So this ended up on the red carpet. I think it was for the anniversary. This is what it was to do with. So we made the wax for that, and that then became the Bond wax. So kind of similar to a lot of them. Oxford is a car wax made for Mini owners. Again, it's just, we had quite a few requests for people that own Minis. Funnily enough, David, who works here, he's got a Mini. So we made that. I used to supply waxes to a Rolls Royce dealership, and this was the wax Grace that we used. This then became quite popular with the independent Rolls Royce group as well, the collectors, the owners club rather. We have another one which is called Chopper, and that was for a Harley Davidson riding club in the States. So we made a run of that, and that's now become popular. You know, got Harley Davidsons all over the world, so that's become quite popular as well. But there's other ones like Quattro, for instance. That's got more humble beginnings. This was just a customer who wanted a Taylor wax, but we didn't actually make Taylor waxes, so to speak, at that point. So this was, I think it was Stuttgart, Bayern and Quattro. They were the first 3 or so waxes within the range that we brought out. But Quattro looks really good on greys and silvers, so it's a really, really high clarity wax. And that's the thing, the wax doesn't know if it's on a Harley Davidson or, you know, a Ferrari, a Porsche. We've got ones here. This was a customer bought a first generation Mazda MX-5, was absolutely desperate for a wax, and we found out that he was part of this members club, so We then made the wax for the members club as well. So this is called Roadster. We have Panther, because that wax was originally for a pre-war Jaguar. It was a collector down south that had it. Again, we were approached by the detailing in this instance. He wanted to present that as a gift to the customer, and it then latterly transpired that one of our other detailers was doing a kind of show and shine thing for another Jaguar club in the north of England, and it kind of just went from there. So again, it's become quite popular. Americana, there's hardly a Ford Mustang in the UK that doesn't have owner that doesn't have this Americana. You're probably watching. If you don't have it, then there it is. And that's the secret. It was the first batch of Mustangs that came in. That was the wax for them. And then we've also got the older, I guess the classical Mustang again. That was it was a museum in Los Angeles that we made that for as well. So, morning from Texas. Wow, it must be, what time is it in Texas? I don't know what time it is here. So my phone screen's away with the video. You're up very early. Good morning. So we're just, Larry, what we're doing here is we're just having a look at the various waxes that we offer. We had we've had a few customers actually, and that's what prompted this video. We've had a few customers over the last few days that are new to Michelin King, and they're just finding the wax range a bit overwhelming. 453, that's dedication. You're up and at it. You're up and ready to go. Well done. So we're just going through the various options that we have here. We've got the mark waxes, so they are typically either made for customers or specific paint systems. For instance, when Ferrari brought out their 3-step paint, I can't remember the name offhand, I think it was a 599 GTO, one of the more modern Ferraris, and it was a different paint scheme. So it was Ferrari in Edinburgh that we made the wax for through one of the detailers again. So we're always very thankful of the detailers that work with us. We've got an ambassador club within the Michelin King group where you're essentially fully approved to use the products, but you can also retail the products and do things like become an ambassador for the group. So that customer in turn then set up a retail link with the dealership as well, and they get a percentage of everything that the dealership buys. We are more focused on the internet side of things, is more focused to the end consumer, but within the more traditional side, it's still very much business to business. So we do offer obviously full capacity to make waxes and whatnot in-house, so we do still offer that service, and even down to things like customization of the labels and whatnot. So that's really it, just to go through the difference in the waxes, how you get from the £15 all the way up to the £600-700 wax. It's all to do with the cost of the ingredients. And it might be the case that my thing, and I remember a friend of mine told me very early on, if you could find something that you like, just use it and use it often. And that will make sure that the paint's well protected, because at the end of the day, you might have lily, but you prefer rory, or you might have lavender, but you prefer honey. So it's just whatever you prefer, whatever you like to use, and it's very much a personal choice. You might like a wax that cures quickly, you might like a wax that you can put it in the garage, especially in somewhere like Texas, for instance, where a lot of the garages are climate controlled as well, just due to the sheer heat. So it means you could put the car in, you're convinced that the air is, it's ionized, it's filtered, so you could put the car in and actually leave that car for 4-6 hours, come back out to it in the evening with a Lone Star beer. I know that from the Big Bang Theory. We were due, actually, it's always been somewhere that I really fancy visiting, mainly because I have an odd obsession with big cars. And in the UK, we don't really get a car that I've always loved, and you get it now, but it's still left-hand drive and it's too big for our roads, is the Ford F-150. I had a friend that's just came back from the States, he was working there, and he had the Chevrolet Silverado. So I've always had this obsession with two things: pickup trucks and muscle cars. I remember my dad saying when I learned to drive that he just believes that I was born in the wrong country. We did live out in the countryside, so we're in the right position for it, but just in the wrong postcode. So yeah, so that was the idea, was to go over there, but it was difficult to actually try and hire a pickup or a muscle car that you would really want to drive. There wasn't a lot of choice on that side. So yeah, hopefully we'll get to visit Texas soon, because we've got lots of great customers from there, lots of customers from Florida as well. We've got quite a few customers in the West Coast. Obviously their emissions and whatever, it's a lot more strict. I remember when we were visiting Beverly Hills Porsche, funnily enough, we were visiting a client, and I'd landed in Las Vegas, driven up to Los Angeles, and I think it was a 5-litre V8 car that I rented. And some of the looks that I got when we got into, the heart of Beverly Hills and stuff, with this big brute of a car. So I think I should have probably went for something a bit more sensible within the city, because it wasn't the most enjoyable drive. We went up we then went from there all the way through Monterey and then up to Pebble Beach. That was one of the places I wanted to see, and we missed the concourse by about a week because I had to be back in the yeah, definitely. We're always open. We are, fun enough, we're at a point now where the capacity our ability to produce more has increased recently, just with a couple of things that we've put in place. So we're in a position now where we are looking for retailers overseas. We're pretty much covered within the UK for the moment. We are in talks with a couple of retailers in the UK, but it's slow, so we're really looking to progress out with at the moment. And obviously we can satisfy most of the requirements within the UK from the factory here, but certainly yeah, it'd be good. The likes of Autogeek, if you happen to watch this video at all, then something like that. We really need a fair size distributor, because as you can see, we have a lot of products, so we need a retailer that's got the financial backing to be able to do something like this. We've recently got a new retailer in South Korea. He's one of the largest retailers in the Asian Peninsula, funnily enough, of detailing products. So that was a good turnout, and that's he's building up his range quite quickly. So keep an eye out for that if you're close to there. So yeah, it's going well, and we're just actually got some bespoke waxes. We've got some tailor-made waxes going on in the background just now, so we'll get back to them. So thanks very much. Any questions or anything like that, just leave them below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Or if you get any questions about the waxes, a specific wax that you're after, a price point you're looking to meet or whatever, then again, just reach out and I'll do my best to help. Right, take care. Thanks guys. Bye bye.